Greetings, everybody. I'm going to do a video on the whole thing with Easter and the King James Version using the word Easter, and and we're going to discuss if it's the correct term or if it's the right term that they decide to put in Acts chapter 12. And we're going to see if the concordance is actually right about this. Okay. Um, and we're going to see that it was actually wrong for the Strong's Concordance to incorporate the term Easter in correlation with the Lord's Passover. Okay, as far as the Greek, we're going to show you that. Because for the most part, hopefully some of you already know that Easter derives from pagan origins, and we're going to get into that too. So, but anyways, in regards to the feast, if the feast of the Lord, if you remember in Leviticus 23:1 and 2, it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. These are not the feasts of the Jews, folks. These are the feasts of the Lord. Those are his feasts, not the Jews." Okay, and we're going to see a little hint of that. The whole thing about the 3 days and 3 nights. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, Jesus was crucified on Friday and he was resurrected on Sunday. I'm not going to get into the whole spiel about that. I'll provide you a link in the description box below where I kind of went into detail on the Passover. But I'm going to give you a little bit of brief history on that. If we go to John 19:13 through 15, it says, "When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth, and sat down in the judgment seat in the place that is called the Pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was a preparation of the Passover." Okay. Jesus was already being brought forth. The decree was already going out to crucify Christ by the Jews, and it was a preparation of the Passover. Well, Jesus already had the Passover, already celebrated the Passover with his disciples that evening. You know, the close of the 13th, beginning of the 14th. So the Jews were actually preparing for their own Passover, which they would celebrate on the 15th, not the 14th. Okay? "And about the 6th hour, and he saith unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto him, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priest answered, We have no king but Caesar." Okay. And then also, if we look at Luke 22:1, now this is kind of interesting because you'll see the Passover all over the place in Matthew through John. But it's kind of interesting how Luke actually capitalized the P here. Kind of like giving us a clue here. In Luke 22:1 it says, "Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover." So the Passover was actually being called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But we know the Feast of Unleavened Bread actually happens just following the Passover. Okay? So Luke is basically giving us an account that the Feast of Unleavened Bread in reference to is the Passover here. Not the Feast of the Unleavened Bread that follows the Passover at the close of the 14th. So I just figured I'd kind of highlight that there for you real quick. Now, the Sabbath, if you pay attention very carefully, I'm going to give you 2 passages here. "And the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week." You know, this right here isn't really in referencing towards, any day of dawn, as in morning or whatever. But this is saying dawn toward the first day of the week, meaning this was evening time. I mean, Sabbath was about to close, and we were about to begin the first day of the week. Okay? Came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the keepers did shake, and became as dead men. And the angel answered and said unto the woman, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. As he said, come see the place where the Lord lay. And now we know from creation, the evening and the morning was the first day. So the evening is the beginning of the day. The following evening is the close of one day, beginning the next day at sunset. So this is basically what's happening. Sabbath was drawing to a close, and at the close of the Sabbath, Jesus was already resurrected and risen. When it comes to the 3 days and 3 nights, it's a literal 3 days and 3 nights. Okay, a literal evening, morning, day, and night. You can see another account here in John 20:1 and 2. The first day of the week cometh, Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark. Okay. Unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter, and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and saith unto them, They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. See, it says the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark. So obviously, this is in reference that the Sabbath is coming to a close, and then right at the close of the Sabbath is basically when Jesus was resurrected. So again, it's a literal 3 days and 3 nights. Now, let's take a look at the Easter passage here. Before I get into the I'm going to get into the passage right now. It says, now pay attention to the context here. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Okay, pay attention to that. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Now, maybe the translator, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. So, the translators didn't really, at that time, probably had an idea of the whole Easter and Passover thing, because, their job was basically just to get the Bible to people's hands during the Reformation era. Intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. So he was kept in prison. He was imprisoned by Herod. Okay. And he wasn't to be delivered until after Easter. So the context of this is basically King Herod here. So Easter is in connection with King Herod. Well, who was King Herod? Well, he was a Roman king, wasn't he? Exactly. So Easter is affiliated with the Romans. It's a pagan holiday, folks. So this was actually correctly translated in this passage. When you look at the other versions, you'll see, for example, like the literal translation, it says Passover. The New King James says Passover. Okay, Young's literal translation, Passover. The only one that has this right is the King James Version, by saying it is Easter. Alright? And even the Strong's Concordance defines this Easter as Passover, but it's not. It is not. Okay? I'm not saying the Strong's Concordance is a bad tool, but, you gotta remember, the Strong's Concordance is also written by man, but at the same time, you can't put your full trust in it. And this is just one example of that. There is a lot of correct translations of wordings here, but obviously if you look at the word Easter, it's Pashka, and they say it's either Easter or Passover. Well, which one is it, Easter or Passover? It's more correctly termed Passover, but this word should not have been used to define Easter. Okay? Passover and Easter have nothing in common. The Christian Passover, it begins on the or is what is known as Nisan the 14th. Every single year. Every year. It doesn't change. Easter is strictly a pagan festival, which the mainstream Christianity, starting with Constantine, stole from the pagans, basically. It was a stolen holiday. You know, it's kind of funny. Uh, the commandment says, "Thou shalt not steal." Well, what did the Christians do? They stole from pagan traditions and they incorporated it into their own belief system. Same thing with Christmas, Halloween. And we're not to have any partakers. We're not even to be affiliated with any of these holidays, basically. So the King James Version actually has this properly translated. Okay. So, whereas the other one says Passover. Even the Jews were keeping the wrong Passover according to the crucifixion week. Okay? The Lord Jesus Christ, I mean, He's the Lord. I'm pretty sure He knows when the Passover should be observed. Okay? You're going to listen to the Jews, or you're going to listen to your Lord and Savior. It's just that simple. They were selling their Passover. They were celebrating their Passover on the close of the 14th, where Jesus Christ and His disciples were celebrating at the close of the 13th, beginning of the 14th. That night is when they had that Last Supper. And it was that night when He was taken. And when He presented Himself in the Jerusalem riding on an ass, that was basically being brought in for inspection. You know, it all correlates with Exodus 12. You read Exodus 12, you'll be able to see it. And also, if you read Exodus 16, I believe, you're going to see the manna week. And if you look at that carefully, that's how you can basically tell where to find the Sabbath day or whatever. Or the seventh day. Or Saturday. And I'm going to get into that too. Because some people are saying, oh, we'll see, well, if you're worshiping God on Saturday, you're actually worshiping Saturn. Well, you know what? We're supposed to worship God in spirit and in truth. And every single day of the week is based off of a pagan god or goddess, okay? So if you're going to say, oh, well, if you worship on Sunday, then you're worshiping the sun god. If you worship on Saturday, then you're worshiping the Saturn or whatever. Well, you know what? Then that means if you're worshiping on Monday, you're worshiping a god, you know, another pagan god. Tuesday, another pagan god. Wednesday, another pagan god. Thursday, another pagan god. Friday, another pagan god. Okay, it's not our fault. You know, you or me, it's not our fault that the calendars have been changed the way they were. Okay? If you feel your conscience pricking you, then don't call the days of the week Monday, Tuesday, Monday through Sunday. Call them the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. And if your conscience is pricking you about naming or calling the planets by the names that they're called now, then call them the first planet, second planet, third planet, fourth planet, fifth planet, so on. Okay? You know, people are so nitpicky on certain things. It's unbelievable. You know, it's not our fault that, you know, we are in this world and then the people of this world are serving their father, the devil. Okay? It's not. You know, what can we do? We're just pilgrims here passing through. And yes, you know, times and laws have been changed. And there's going to come a time where we're going to be going back to the older ways of things, the way they were supposed to be. But I figured I'd just do this quick little video here to kind of give you a synopsis on the word Easter. If you look at the context of this here, alright, it was Herod that wanted to, that wasn't going to deliver Peter, possibly to be persecuted or killed, until after Easter. This was Herod's holiday. This was Herod's celebration day. This was Herod's pagan holiday. This had nothing to do with Jesus Christ or Christianity or whatever. Alright? So I figured I'd throw this one out there. So truth be told, truth be known, stay safe, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.